Yo, 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 what up? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another live stream. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice, smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's actually get into the content. All right. So I'm actually kind of mad at myself, but I'm actually kind of proud of myself. I wanted to do this live stream this morning at like 9 o'clock when I got off of work. And clearly it's not 9 o'clock, so I'm late. But I set the schedule for 3 o'clock, and guess what time it is? It's 3 o'clock. So I'm late and on time at the same time. All right. So, props to me, right? Congratulations. You did good. You did good. You know what I mean? So, first of all, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, and I literally just found this out a couple moments ago. Did y'all know my man Delmo is in the house early? What up, bro? What's good with you, man? Let's get it. Let's do that. Man, that was a good chat last night in Seji's chat, man. You know what I'm saying? He was going in. It's a shame what YouTube did. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous things that people got to go through on YouTube trying to create content. You know what I'm saying? Constance Jackson, what's up? Good to see you. And they do stuff like that, but it is what it is. That's why we got to work together. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the main reasons why we got to support each other. You know what I'm saying? As soon as I get paid, I got to buy some things and, you know what I'm saying, get some things taken care of. But I'm going to try to support that brother on Patreon. You know what I mean? It's just, people shouldn't have to go through that nonsense, man. I've watched his videos for a long time on both of his channels. And, he's very respectful. He doesn't do anything that will violate community guidelines. It's just ridiculous, man. We already know what time it is. That's one of the reasons why we need to learn from DESTRO. The only thing that DESTRO did wrong was accepted second place. But I think DESTRO strategically accepted second place. I don't think that DESTRO wanted to run Cobra. I think if he wanted to, he could have. I honestly think that Cobra would have rather had DESTRO running them. You know what I'm saying? I think that that's the case. You feel what I'm saying? So what's good with everybody, man? What are y'all doing on this Sunday? I got some things that I want to talk about. I'm not sure if y'all knew about this, but the United States of America basketball team was embarrassed by Nigeria. Oh, man. They suffered a legitimate loss. I just got a question for y'all. How does that make you feel? That's how I always, we always ask that question. How does that make you feel? Oh, man. I ain't gonna lie, man. It brings me great joy. You know what I'm saying? It's about time that the bullies get bullied, and I hope it continues. You know what I'm saying? And gets worse and cuts deeper. You know what I'm saying? Until people learn how to conduct themselves accordingly, until people learn how to behave themselves properly. And if not, we have some fail safes back up and do what we need to do in order to regulate the behavior and regulate the fair treatment ourselves. It's one of the reasons why I feel the way I do as far as dealing with things, because clearly from history, you can't leave people to their own devices to do the right thing. And that's sad. And that could be one of the reasons why we have secret societies. It could be one of the reasons why there's a government structure. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know why people felt the need to put those things in place. But from what I view in the world and from things that I see, it's very evident, in my opinion, that humanity has a very difficult time especially some elements of humanity, regulating themselves. Now, I got a question for you. Why do you guys think that is? That's my question. History informs the future. That's big facts. That's absolute facts. History absolutely informs the future. Absolutely. I think that history can be a very accurate determinant of the future as well. I think that understanding history and the mastery of history can allow you to customize your future for a desired result. I think that that's a possibility as well. You Law, my man, what's good with you, bro? Good to see you. I hope everything is going well for you on Sunday. All right. So my question for everybody, all right? We got Delmo, we got Constance, we got you Law. We got the regulars. That's what's up. What do y'all think about Destro? Do y'all know who Destro is? Please don't tell me that y'all don't know. Destro was in that video that we did yesterday also. That Weather Dominator was his. And speaking of the Weather Dominator, did you guys see my community post? What do you guys think about these storms that are causing these power outages? See, when I got off work, I was really tired. I had planned on doing a lot of content, but I passed out. You know what I'm saying? Like I fell asleep. So all I had time for was to wake up and put together the stuff that I wanted to talk about in this live stream. But I plan on doing a video about these weather changes because these weather changes are causing power outages. And it's crazy because we just talked about that the other day. You know what I'm saying? Humans regulating question, irrational behavior and susceptibility to being brainwashed. Yeah, absolutely. Cobra Commander's #1. Yeah. Yeah. Now, I got a question, and I want y'all to answer this, and I want y'all to answer it honestly. And, you know, if you don't know the answer, it's all good. What do y'all know about Destro's history? We touched on it briefly yesterday, but I'm curious to know today. What do y'all know about Destro's history? And the reason why I ask y'all about Destro's history is because it's actually kind of important. Because, again, we already talked about predictive programming. So my question for y'all is predictive programming a theory or is it something that we see all the time? My opinion, I think that we see predictive programming all the time. A lot of times I think we're bombarded with predictive programming and we don't even know that it's predictive programming. So my question is, what are you guys' thoughts? What do you know about Destro's history? And what do you think about predictive programming? Is it real? Is it accurate? Is it something that we deal with on a daily basis? Have you encountered it other than what I presented to you guys the other day? That's my question. Me personally, I personally believe in predictive programming. And a lot of times I think that there's layers on top of the message and we sometimes don't pick up on it. But in my opinion, it's always there. This quote, what they call the alphabet agenda, definitely predictive programming. They are conditioning your mind to be accepting of a future that is envisioned by someone other than you. It's predictive programming. Rap music, in my opinion, is predictive programming. When people make those comments and say that you can't do anything other than be a basketball player, you can't do anything other than be an athlete, predictive programming. You're creating preconceived notions that act as a barrier to you being able to thrive as well as your success. One thing that people need to do is we need to predictively program ourselves. You know, we used to do that with the naming system. When we used to create a name, we would give a name to a child, and that name would be indicative of what the child planned to do as their life's goal and mission. Predictive programming. At birth, I'm going to tell you what you're going to be doing until death. And then guess what? Every time you're reminded, Someone calls your name, you're reminded of what your purpose is. Predictive programming is a reality, all done to enable social engineering. Absolutely. So here's my question. Do you believe that an effective way to deal with the system of illegitimacy would be counter social engineering? I never read the comic, but understand predictive programming. That's what's up. If you get some spare time, Constance, you might want to check out some old, make sure they the old Hasbro 1986 G.I. Joe cartoons. Those are the ones you want to look at. Look at a couple seasons of it. Everything that's going on today, you'll see it. And then, I mean, even in all of those cartoons, everything that was going on in all of those cartoons, especially in that 80s, that late 80s to early 90s period, everything that was going on in those cartoons is going on now. Yeah, reverse engineering can counter. Exactly. So remember, we talked about that term called reverse transcriptase, right? That was basically deconstructing DNA and then reconstructing the DNA where it can reproduce a virus, right? So what we need to do is, in my opinion, and you guys can, let me know if you agree or disagree. If we know that there's a system in place that's socially engineering us, we need to have the understanding, first and foremost, that that's in place. Those that choose to ignore it, or those that choose to counter it, or those that choose to fight against what we're saying, nature will take care of them. So we don't need to worry about them. It's not our job to push reality and normalcy on anybody. It's only our job for us to make each other better. Those of us who are of a like mind. Okay. Yeah, check it out. Check it out. You'll be interested. All right. So if we understand that we're being socially engineered, my question for everybody is, how come we haven't started a counter social engineering program? How do you start a counter social engineering program? There first needs to be something to block social engineering, and then there needs to be an initiation of our own social engineering. Does that make sense? Let me know how much sense that makes, or if it sounds like I'm talking crazy. I'm always guilty of talking crazy. Nature will take care of survival of the fitness. Yeah, exactly. It's not our job. Actually makes our job easier because you don't waste time when dealing with people who are insane or people that'll slow you down. And I hate to sound like that, but you know what they say about people who are drowning. You never swim out in the water and get them because they'll drown both of you, and then nobody's going anywhere. And there's a lot of people drowning, So any attempts to reach out and save them is detrimental to both. So if you never had an opportunity to save a life, there's your opportunity. Don't help somebody that's drowning. You know what I'm saying? Call 911 or throw a raft to them. That's the best that you can do. That's the best kind of help that you can give. But that's actually sacrificing yourself if you try to swim out and help somebody who's drowning. They have adrenaline rushing. You know what I'm saying? They're moving fast. They're going to deplete you of your oxygen because you're wrestling with them, trying to get them under control, and they'll push both of you down to the bottom of the water, and you will both die. And that makes no sense when one person was already in an imminent situation and the other person placed himself in one. That's why I don't understand these arguments and battles back and forth, especially the cannibalization that we do of each other. What we need to do is just show respect of each other and let each other go in our own way. And if we're right, nature will progress. If we're wrong, then nature will devour, right? In business, world concept of systemization, we need to apply the concept to counter the system of illegitimacy. I totally agree. 100%. So my question is, how do we counter engineer? If we have a system already in place that's constantly bombarding us with social engineering, how do we counter engineer? The first and immediate step is to put up an immediate boundary to the bombardment. You do everything in the same way that your biology is structured. What is your immediate immune system defense to the outside environment? Your skin. Is that correct? Let me know in the comments if I'm making sense. The first defense that you have against the outside environment is your skin. It's your first barrier of protection, your immediate barrier. UV rays and X-rays and gamma rays from the sun, they don't go into your epidermis, they go into your dermis. Your dermis is the first layer of skin. When you said that earlier, that the US was ashamed, they are ashamed of all of our progress here in North America. Our youth needs to know the brilliance of our race here and our inventions. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the reasons why they do what they do to black inventors. And then they steal the history of black inventors and then turn around and say that, what did we ever build? I don't know, just this country, for one, you know what I'm saying? And for two, if it wasn't for a black man named Benjamin Banneker, there wouldn't have been anywhere for any of those nutcases to try to break into on January 6th, because he remembered the plans for that, because the guy named Pierre L'Enfant decided to take it back to France, which is where a lot of people, especially the ones in Louisiana, should do. So we need to reverse engineer. We need to reverse the social engineering. And the first step to removing social engineering is to first place a barrier. A barrier is always the first level of defense. Do you guys agree with me or no? Like I said, when we were talking about Tulsa in that other live stream a while ago, I said one of the fundamental mistakes, in my opinion, was that those people in Tulsa did not put up a barrier. They didn't put a moat around the city. They didn't put up any kind of fence or any kind of wall. They didn't do anything. So we have to look at this in a very simple model. All right. If you draw it on a piece of paper, you have something, a mass in the center, right? And surrounding that mass is the entire system that's trying to keep you encapsulated. That's why it's surrounding it. Banneker built the first clock. Yeah, Banneker was a brilliant man. And my man, MC Fact, is also a brilliant man. Honor to have you in the video, my brother. Good to see you. You know what I'm saying? So if you're in the center, then there's a system around you that's constantly attacking and bombarding. Isn't that the same way that everything in nature is? Everything in nature has an initial barrier. I think they call it permeability. Cells have a semi-permeable membrane that selectively allows things from the outside environment to come in based on how the glycoproteins are ionized using using chloride and using sodium. You ever heard of that term, semi-permeable? Semi-permeable means it's somewhat permeable, because semi means somewhat or half, right? We all know that a semicircle is a half circle. We all know that a semi tractor trailer is half tractor trailer, half truck. We all know that a semicolon is a half period with a comma at the bottom. Is semi, right? So what we need to do, like intestinal permeability, exactly, is selective absorption. The intestines, they do that, exactly like Domo said. They allow the absorption of certain things and block out other things. And if there's enough or too little, they regulate the speed. Now, there's a difference between that and dissipation. Dissipation is when you're in a space and there's particles, and the particles automatically evenly distribute themselves. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is permeability, gas permeable, water permeable. In this case, engineering permeable. Any solution to any problem, looking at the basic functions of nature and applying those basic functions of nature to your daily operations, as how you deal with anything. People always sit there and they say, well, we need to read the word of God. We need to read the word of God. Isn't the word of God nature and how we're created? That's the word of God, allegedly. If there's an alleged God and allegedly God's prized product is us, then don't you think that he programmed all of the answers into us that we need, or all of the answers are somewhere around us? So when you have a problem in this nature, you need to look to this nature for the answer, because really there's no such thing as a question and an answer, because the answer is always in the question. We automatically know everything because everything it already happened already. So what we need, that's one of the reasons why we have DNA. DNA is cellular memory, chemical memory, and it's a program written into a chemical form. So we have all of the answers that we need. You just need to understand how to access them. And the first way to access them is to look at the world through the eyes of nature. What is being done? Social engineering. How do you deal with anything being done? Just like your body, the first thing that you do is you put up an immediate barrier. The immediate barrier in your body's case is your skin. The immediate barrier in society's case is to cut yourself off from society's access to you, because the access is what allows the programming. The access is what allows you to be plugged in. The access is what plugs into you. Is that correct or is that incorrect? Is that logical or illogical? Let me know what you guys think. Hey, what's up, Rain King? What's going on, bro? I didn't even see you. Buried in those bots. So we have the media that's socially engineering us. We have our schools that's socially engineering us. We have day-to-day interactions, corporations, jobs, all kinds of things that are socially engineering us. Knox Weirdo, what up? All right. So the first thing that we need to do is to put up a barrier to the social engineering. This is one of the reasons why I always say we need to not worry about the way that the population at large attempts to legitimize anything that we do. Legitimization of us only needs to come through each other, period. But we have certain people going against nature, and nature will handle those certain people. Remember, there's, quote, laws of nature. So what is one of those laws of nature? Like Delmo said earlier, survival of the fittest. Another law of nature is the golden rule, which, in my opinion, translates to thermodynamics. Equal and opposite reaction. Do unto others as you expect others to do unto you. So nature will take care of things. So if we allow and trust nature, right, which sounds similar to trust God, right, sounds similar to have faith in God. God allegedly is nature and created nature, right? You know what I'm saying? See how they try to divide based on principles, but at the bare basis, everybody's all saying the same thing. They just have you confused with language. So if we trust nature the way that we've observed it, and we understand how the patterns of it work, which nature does work by patterns as evidenced by the Fibonacci sequence, then we just need to concentrate on ourselves. And if we concentrate on ourselves, then we'll be able to thrive through nature, because we'll be able to learn and understand nature and be able to master and understand its elements and be able to respond to anything that we encounter in the way that's naturally appropriate. Some islands survived with nature. That's right, Knox. That's absolutely right. So you have to ask yourself, and I want to get some feedback from you guys. How do you put a barrier up to stop social engineering? Is that Cannibal Island? I don't know. How do you put a barrier up to stop social engineering? I gave a couple examples. You can remove yourself from society. You can put up a barrier from all of the access that society has to you, which would be TVs, phones. Only use them in a practical sense, whatever you need to do to survive. Make sure that you have your necessities for survival, those priorities in order, right? The first law of nature is self-defense. Absolutely. What I find funny, right? Speaking of the first law of nature being self-defense, who was the person that was looked at as a villain? Malcolm X was looked at as a villain because he told people, do not allow people to harm you, fight back. The guy who told you turn the other cheek is the one that celebrated fundamental laws of nature. So what that should tell you about this system of illegitimacy is the system of illegitimacy attempts to legitimize you by rewarding people who encourage you to go against normal nature. Even animals have self-defense mechanisms. There's no way you can sit there and tell me that defending yourself is illegal or bad when we actually have animals with the most potent neurotoxins that they can self-produce. Scorpions, spiders, deep sea animals. Thank you for following, Knox. I appreciate it. You should come over to YouTube. The chat's probably more active. Blacklight Revelations 2 on YouTube. So if you have animals that have built-in capabilities. Hey, what's up, Zero? I ain't seen you in a minute. I hope you're doing good. What's up with you? If you have built-in capabilities to defend yourself, right, like these animals do, then why would someone who tells you not to defend yourself be celebrated? Think about that. It's because anytime you go against nature, you're weakening yourself. And that's what the system of illegitimacy does. It encourages you to weaken yourself. And as long as you're weakening yourself, you're getting rewards. But because of operant and classical conditioning, those rewards make you feel a certain kind of way. And it's been operantly and classically conditioned so long that you actually get biological stimuli now for doing the wrong thing. Always defend myself. Yeah, you have to. So if we always defend ourselves, what is the first layer of defense? We're not defending ourselves against the social engineering. We're not defending ourselves against propaganda. Remember, we talked about the Smith-Mundt Act? The United States government, I think it was in 2016 or maybe 2015, allowed for inflow of money and legislation to allow basically unlimited propaganda to the United States public. What is propaganda? We all know that the propaganda is what? Social engineering. It's the first layer. Media, video games, education. That whole system. Education is intertwined irreversibly with the government. We actually have a U.S. Department of Education. So if you don't think that some of that money for propaganda goes into the schools and it has an effect on the curriculum, you might be a little bit naive. Putting a barrier up. Your eyes are the window of your soul. So carefully select what you choose to see and watch. Your brain is your CPU. Cut out the junk. Feed it with knowledge. Facts. And don't CPUs have to have maintenance? Don't you have to defragment a drive every now and then? Don't you have to run antivirus now and then? When's the last time? You know, when you meditate, that's actually defragmenting your brain. Like, that's the same thing. When you meditate, sit down, get the noise out, defragment yourself. Run that antivirus software in your brain. Even the guy that preaches turn the other cheek changed his views after his I had a dream speech, but they won't tell that part of history. Big facts. Big facts. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. You know, just trying to make it out here on these YouTube streets. You know how they do. You know what I'm saying? It's trying to make it out here on these YouTube streets. No, it's all good. I know what you meant. Yeah, you good. No worries. I know exactly what you meant. And you're right. You know what I'm saying? You're absolutely right. When he started saying, when he started not feeling the whole turn the other cheek thing, when that other cheek started getting sore, and the other cheek started getting sore probably because them pockets was empty when he would go to try to get some medical treatment. He said, well, we need to start talking about reparations. And then that's when they start talking about this dude needs to be dead quick. And then got a holiday. You know what I mean? What about nuclear bombs that can destroy us all? Hope that's not too far off a topic. Oh yeah, there's absolutely nuclear bombs that can destroy us all. There's nuclear power plants that can destroy us all. China is actually working on an artificial sun. The artificial sun that China is working on is going to be an infinite fusion energy engine right here on the planet Earth, a fusion engine. Nuclear fusion at this point in our human timeline is completely uncontrollable. That's what the sun works on. The sun works on nuclear fusion and nuclear fission. There's all kinds of stuff that can destroy us right now. That's even more scary than nuclear bombs, in my opinion. If something goes wrong at CERN, that CERN is more scary than a nuclear bomb, in my opinion. Those nuclear bombs are for sure scary. But there's other stuff that's going on right now, in my opinion, that's even more scary than those nuclear bombs. Some kind of malfunction at CERN, in my opinion, is horrifying. That can actually tear apart the fabric of reality, which I don't know, that might actually help things. You know what I'm saying? A bit extreme. I got rid of my TV years ago to break away from the programming. I now only watch guys like Blacklight, Torian, and New Black Media. Yeah, I feel it. I feel it. I feel it, Delmo, and I appreciate that, man. That you know what I'm saying? I'm honored by that you take time out of your day to watch my content. I appreciate that very much. That's what I meant by going against nature. Oh, absolutely, MC Fact. You're 100% on point, as always. You know what I'm saying? You're absolutely right. So how do we, if there's radiation, not blacklight radiation, because we know that's the good radiation. You know what I'm saying? If things like X-rays or gamma rays are coming at you in excess, how do you block those? How do you block radiation? You know, all of these social engineering things, for the most part, most of them come on a radio frequency, right? They come from a radio frequency. They're either being broadcasted over microwave, they're either being broadcasted over 5G, short band frequency, right? They coming from the TV, RF signals. Even your credit card has an RF chip in it, a radio frequency chip. So if there's X-rays or gamma rays, how do you block them? When you go into an X-ray machine so that you don't get radiation poisoning, what do? I heard at one point that CERN almost tore apart reality. A certain point, I don't know how true that is. Oh, I believe it, Zero. I totally believe that. That's so believable. Do you know what if you know about that, then I'm sure you know exactly what they do there. And I mean, the calculations have to be precise, probably down to 100th. Like it's probably some ridiculous scientific notation number, like the natural logarithm of 10 to the 100th is like how precise the parameters have to be. So you could imagine like just dust in a cylinder, or like just a piece of dust in a vacuum could trigger some kind of chain reaction that could just tear open reality. And who knows, the tearing open of reality might not be that bad, but what comes out of it? What comes out of that tear? What goes into that tear? How does it change things? You know what I mean? What happens? Have things changed now? Are we currently dealing with a tear in reality? Who knows? Is there little patches all over the universe that are torn open pieces? You know, like imagine like a ball, like a sphere, right? And just like, you know, because you know the universe is a container. It's not something that's just infinite. It seems infinite to us because we're so small. You know what I mean? But the universe is a container. And it's like a balloon. So like imagine yourself being inside of a balloon, right? And somebody's blowing up the balloon. What's up, Jesse Miller? What's good, bro? Imagine somebody blowing up the balloon, but you're inside of that balloon while it's blowing up. That's the universe. But there's stuff outside the balloon. We just can't access it. We don't know what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, but the thing is though, if there's a small hole in the balloon, or if there's pieces, you know, balloon can be warped and pieces stretched out, and then you can even twist a balloon, right? And even if you twist a balloon, now you got two smaller balloons. So that's actually what's going on. So how do we know like that hasn't already happened and that we're not currently dealing with that? You know what I mean? It's just so much stuff. It's just so crazy. And you got to ask yourself about CERN, like, what's the point of that? Why would they do that? Why do you want to, mess with the fabrics of reality? It's because they actually want to literally change reality. They want to come out with a reality printer. The reason why they are doing that is as a supplement to augmented and virtual reality. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure they're supposed to be think right there. I definitely think that time has been manipulated. Even if I could prove it, I'd still be called crazy. Nah, you wouldn't be called crazy here at Blacklight. You know what I'm saying? Because we know the deal. Some people believe that the Mandela effect is manipulations in time. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, anybody who's taken a basic physics class knows that there's events that happen in the universe, certain fluctuations of energy, certain kinds of mass or certain kinds of gravitational pull, even certain kind of matter like dark matter and antimatter that can cause changes in the space-time continuum, or they can cause changes in space or time or even perception. Going through a black hole. Matter of fact, we was talking about this in Seiji Hito's video the other night. Going through the black hole, once you go beyond, like, okay, so my hand right here is the event horizon. Once you go beyond the event horizon, and this has to be in a supermassive black hole. This doesn't work in a smaller size black hole. But once you go beyond the event horizon, an effect called spaghettification happens. And in that effect called spaghettification, you stretch out, but you freeze while you're stretched out. And the reason why you freeze is because you're simultaneously in two realities. In the first reality, this is why you stretch. All right. This is why you stretch. In the first reality, which is the one that you're being perceived in by the outside observer, you're being stretched because you froze. All right. And the residual reflection is a reflection of you in that reality, but can be seen on the outside because you're still in the black hole. Now, in the other reality, what's happening to you is that space-time switches properties. So time functions three-dimensionally, all right? And space moves linearly. That's why you're looked at that's why the spaghettification, because you're seeing what they're seeing on the outside of the event horizon is what's going on in the other reality. So remember, space-time switches properties. So that means that space-time stretches, that means that space stretches. So you're stretching, all right? That's why you're getting longer. That's from that spaghettification effect, all right? And you freeze, nothing else is happening because space-time changes. That means that time becomes three-dimensional. So that means that past, present, and future are all happening simultaneously. And though we don't have laws of physics that compensate for that kind of phenomenon in this reality. So you're looked at as just you're being frozen. You know what I'm saying? Because that would technically stop, like if things were going in that way where there was time where there was past, present, and future all going at the same time in a linear space or where space time is fixed, you just freeze because you can't have all three going in the same direction at all times. In our reality where time is linear, past, present, and future are on a timeline. They can't exist all in one form. That's why you're frozen when viewed from this reality, because we can't witness that happening. We don't have laws of physics to compensate for it. But if you think about that, it makes sense, because how would you envision past, present, and future all happening at the same time? I think that the closest thing to seeing different realities are when we dream, like in that NBC TV show Awake. Yeah, and then they had that other show called Stranger Things. But actually, though, have you ever heard of Edgar Cayce? Atomic being the smallest part of matter. Yeah, and then there's other things. There's the smallest parts of matter, and then there's the other particles like quarks. And what is that? Is that called a Higgs boson? And photons, neutrinos. You ever heard of a neutrino? It's not a Latino gang on the West Coast neither. It's not the neutral neighborhood between the Norteños and the Sureños. That's not what a neutrino is. All right. It's not, they don't come with nacho cheese either. A neutrino is like a neutral particle that's smaller than a neutron. You know what I'm saying? Grandfather's paradox, Schrodinger's cat. Yeah. The twin paradox. So anybody that's in the comments that knows about Edgar Casey, let Zero the Infinite know a little bit about Edgar Casey. This is a dude, he called himself the sleeping prophet, I believe, or the sleeping clairvoyant, or the sleeping something, whatever it was, it had to do with sleep. The dude was asleep. But when he was asleep, he had put himself into a trance, right? And allegedly, when he put himself into a trance while he was asleep, he would be able to access this thing called the Akashic region or the Akashic plane. And in my opinion, the Akashic the Akashic region or the Akashic plane is something similar to what's described in string theory as the 11th dimension. It's where no information is discovered, no information is created, all information exists simultaneously, all information. And in my opinion, the way that I visualize, the gears that turn, the machine of reality, that it makes sense to me that has to be there. There has to be that. Because what they're coming to find out, if you listen to Kwame Brown, he always says, this is simulation. He always be like, this is simulation. But there's actually some truth to that. There's actually some theoretical truth to that. So if this is a situation, if this is a simulation, then there has to be some place where the information is all stored. Because now we're dealing with, quote, programming language. And if you think about it, if you actually sit back and think about it, the laws of physics, the laws of thermodynamics, biology, chemistry, those are nothing more than the programming language of reality, if you sit back and think about it. Does that make sense? I mean, am I wrong? Am I off base? If anybody disagree, let me know. And this is not no place where disagreement is unwelcome. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll be met with respect until you become disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? But if people don't agree, that's perfectly fine. You know what I'm saying? People have freedom to disagree. That's one of the things we're losing in society nowadays, is freedom to disagree. I used to, be able to interact with people all the time that, I didn't agree with necessarily. And nowadays it just seems like people have a really difficult time doing that. You know what I mean? The bootstrap paradox. Is that the one we're supposed to pull ourselves up by? That's hilarious. CERN with Shiva God statue outside their headquarters, opening Pandora's box. Facts. And there's a reason why did you know about the Shiva destruction ritual that they did before they opened up CERN? Edgar Casey would go into a trance. Yeah, he put himself into a trance. He sure did. So that was a hell of a tangent, wasn't it? Shit. That was a hell of a tangent. Damn. Sounds legit. This subject we try to understand that is outside of our ability to comprehend. Good shit. Yeah, no doubt. Appreciate it, Jesse. Well, one of the reasons why we may not be able to understand it is because we, being under the governance of the laws of reality and this reality, it wouldn't make sense for us to be able to understand a alien reality. We couldn't possibly understand it. We couldn't possibly conceive it. The only way that we could conceive it would be to be able to conceive how it interacts with this reality and how this reality dictates those interactions to us, in my opinion. From what I understand, institution where all knowledge and wisdom is there that just comes to you. Yeah. Yeah. My question is, though, where does it come from? Like, where's the location? Where is the energetic or physical location? Because, see, like a lot of times people talk about a physical location. Well, where's the physical location? All right. Okay. Let's introduce the idea that there could possibly be energetic locations, right? Because we all know that mass and energy, are kind of inseparable, at least the way our reality works. But we never talk about energetic locations. Why don't we talk about energetic locations? The bootstrap paradox is a real thing. I know it's about time traveling. Oh, okay. Maybe it comes from general relativity or special relativity. I'm gonna have to look that up. I never heard of the bootstrap paradox. I heard of the twin paradox and the grandfather paradox, but I never heard of the bootstrap one. I'm gonna check it out though. That's what's up. So my question for you guys is, how do we reverse social engineer? Because if we're going to sit here and we're going to blame social engineering for a lot of our problems, then who do we blame that we haven't figured out a way to put up a barrier, right, and block that social engineering? Maybe it's possible it came from nothing. Yeah, oh yeah, maybe. That's definitely a possibility. Absolutely. You can never rule anything out, especially dealing with things that we don't understand. That's where people get so upset and so tired. That's impossible. Well, how do you know? We don't even fully understand. You know what I'm saying? That's absolutely possible. It could come from nothing. However, in my opinion, it would be interesting to understand how it comes from nothing. Because a lot of times when it comes to dealing with like quantum mechanics, or when it comes to dealing with string theory, what seems like something is coming from nothing actually has a source. And that quote coming from quote nothing, that quote nothing in our definition may be some kind of reception from another reality, or from another universe, or from another source that our laws bind us from being able to access or understand. You know what I'm saying? So, like, say for instance, right, there's parallel universes allegedly. So, but however, so imagine the universe, right? And we all know about the butterfly effect, right? Jesse Miller had mentioned the butterfly effect earlier. So if we all know about the butterfly effect, then we all know that something that happens way off somewhere else can affect something that happens here, right? If that happens on Earth, then by the logic that we live in a universe that should have somewhat, you might have to make some adjustments, but there should be something similar that mirrors that effect in the universe, which kind of leads to quantum physics, because electrons and small particles exist simultaneously in two places, but they pop in and out, so it looks like they're coming from nothing. But like that episode of X-Men, the cartoon, when Nightcrawler was teleporting, they slowed down the teleportation so they could see what went on while Nightcrawler was teleporting, where he was at while he was actually going through his teleportation phase. What we need to do is slow down that quantum appearing and reappearing, and see exactly what goes on when it looks like, quote, something comes from nothing, and be able to follow that footstep back to the original point. And it might end up in some place where we can't access, because it could be, another parallel universe or another reality. But then you got to ask yourself, how far do these layers of containers that we're in go? Right? I studied Qigong and energetic location in our minds, in our pineal glands, they say. Oh, yeah, absolutely. 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 I remember getting kicked out of a church for having a disagreement about what Revelations really prophesied. And I was asked questions, and they didn't like it. Yeah, people don't like asking questions. People don't like answering questions. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Like, when people just ask me simple questions, I don't like answering them. And it's not because, like, I want to withhold some kind of sacred knowledge, because, like, I don't have any sacred knowledge. You know what I'm saying? But, like, sometimes I'm just lazy. Like, I just don't want to answer a question. Like, somebody will ask me, like, well, what do you want to do today? I was like, really? I don't know. live to the next day. Like, that's it. Like, I don't feel like working my brain like that. But it's because we have lazy brains. You know what I'm saying? And like Constance said, one of those reasons that we had those lazy brains is because, you know, we kind of have we kind of have non-functional pineal glands. You know what I'm saying? Like Jesse Miller said, you know, because of different things like chloride and all kinds of stuff, chlorine, fluorine, you know what I'm saying? BPH and all of these different chemicals that they covertly introduce to us. You know what I mean? So I have some more questions, and you guys haven't answered my one question that I asked. I wanted to know about the social engineering. How do we put up a barrier? We all have pineal glands. It's our one eye. I do know the chemicals they subject us to calcifies our pineal gland. Yeah, that's facts. That's big facts. Think tanks like Tavistock Institute have been the invisible hand in orchestrating predictive programming. Edward Bernays is celebrated as the father of propaganda work there. That's big facts. There's a my dude on YouTube. There's a dude. His name is Lift Every Voice Media. He knows a lot about that Tavistock Institute and Edward Bernays. He actually is the one that told me about Edward Bernays and the propaganda. You know what I'm saying? Most people have never actually opened their third eye, but claim that they have. I've actually opened it up a little bit. It's an invisible eye in the middle of your forehead that you can see. Oh, yeah, I believe it. I totally believe it. You have to leave the fluoride alone and sever your tie with media. That will create the start of a barrier. That's facts. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. You got to have something if you want to be with me. Sorry, you made me think of that old Billy Preston song. That's funny. Yeah, but Jesse Miller hit the nail on the head. You have to leave the fluoride alone and sever your tie with the media. That will create a start of a barrier. What do you guys think about that? I think that's a pretty good answer. How do we put up a barrier? We avoid the tools medium used for predictive programming as much as we can. Absolutely. And then before we do that, we have to accept the fact and believe and understand that there is an evidence of an element of social media. Or an element of social engineering. There's a lot of people who completely reject that notion. So if you completely reject that notion, then it'll remain undetected to you. That's one of the reasons why people attack people in the way that they do. They attack people in the way that they do to get them to reject notions. If you want to talk about things that happened on 9/11, you're a conspiracy theorist. If you want to talk about World War II and question some things, you're anti-Semitic. If you talk about a system of illegitimacy, you're anti-American and a racist. So then no discussion goes any further. And without any further discussion, no new information is generated. And without no new information being generated, then we stay where we are. See how that cycle works? I think recognizing the programming when it's happening and turn away from it when you see it happening. Absolutely. And be able to recognize situations that create energetic locations of the programming and steer clear of them or have a radiation barrier there. Recognize common types of social engineering and how these tactics could overwhelm standard controls. Exactly. So, how do we counter social engineering? Because if social engineering has been used, right, and it's successful, clearly it's working, then that means that it successfully works. So then, if we now understand that there is indeed an element of social engineering, there is indeed an element of predictive programming, are these things that we need to reverse engineer and institute but in a different way. The masses take brainwashing from media propaganda, then become groupthink, proxy government informants. Yeah, big facts. You use critical thinking to put up a barrier to social engineering. Facts. Dude named Jeremy Elliott talked about this. Okay. Do me a favor, guys. Real quick, if you're enjoying the video, make sure you smash the like button. If you can, share this video out to all your social media. Definitely appreciate it. All right. Just, gotta do that there. So how do we counter program? How do we counter engineer? Because while we have a barrier up, there has to be something going on the other side of the barrier. Programming works best when people don't realize it. Absolutely. What do we call that? Subliminal messaging. And then what you do is you give the subliminal message, and with the subliminal message, you operantly condition with positive and negative reinforcement so that you can do what? Hide the stimulus. You hide the stimuli. So while you're feeding them the stimuli, you're operant in classical conditioning. They don't even know that they're being conditioned. Positive and negative reinforcement. Stop looking at news on the TV. Absolutely. I think most people want to willingly follow the programming. I think that you're right. That's one of the reasons why you have to be able to identify those kind of people that actually do want to willingly follow programming. And you have to kind of, those people are a hub, right? Those people are an energetic hub for social engineering. Because remember, we have the media. The media is a node. If you set this thing up like a network, you have nodes, you have hubs, you have, little network places, right? A node, right, would be like social media. So a big giant node would be Facebook, Google, CNN, CBS, right? That's a big node. Okay. And then the network goes out. So then you have all these little wires that come from it, right? You got like the internet companies, telecommunication companies, phone companies, because they're taking the information from the larger node and spreading it out like veins, right? So the heart is the node, right? And the wires are the social media company. And then they go to you all, to everybody, to me, to you, right? And we're the hubs. And we can be the hubs of this information because we can spread it around too, right? We can spread it by word of mouth. Word of mouth works exactly like infectious disease. If you can follow bacteria spread or bacteria growth or viral reproduction patterns, then you can follow voice of mouth patterns. They travel in a logarithmic and exponential fashion. So if you tell one person, that one person will tell another person. Now you got two people tell four people tell eight people. 8 people tell 16 people. But that's not actually true, because each one of those people can tell multiple people. Those numbers may not necessarily be the same. You think each one of those people is only going to tell one person? So one person may tell 5 people. The next person may tell 25 people. You never know. One of those people may be a celebrity and may have a huge social media platform. So they put it on their social media. They've told 1 million people. So those laws, as far as doubling and all that, that doesn't even work. So basically, any person that you encounter can be a hub of social engineering. And people repeat things and they repeat things and they repeat things until you either get interested in it or until you want to go check it out for yourself, or either you start to subconsciously believe it. You know what I mean? What's up, Jesse? Welcome. Diet is also key. GMO, harmful E numbers lower your body's vibration and usher in predictive programming like a virus. Big facts. Right. And check this out. We're already currently dealing with something similar to that. We've been programmed about a quote virus, right? They're actually using the actual object of terminology, because that's another thing that they do. They use objects of terminology. So you got to ask yourself, man. You got to ask yourself the question: what is the most effective barrier to put distance and opacity between yourself and social engineering? One of the best ways to do that is to unplug, right? Unplug yourself from the television. Unplug yourself from your phone. Sometimes people will tell you certain things. You know, your parents program you. Sometimes your parents just keep telling you nonsense. As much as you may love them, you know what I'm saying? Like, I love my parents, but my parents tell me a lot of nonsense. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes I got to just get away from them. You know what I mean? Sometimes your friends, you may have a friend that's just a little bit overboard. You may have a friend that's just a little bit too political, or a friend that's just a little bit too religious. And it's like, I need some PTO time from talking to you for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So that's that situation where, like a computer, you need to give your brain some defrag, run some antivirus. You know what I'm saying? Educate yourself in life. Open up your own eyes. Exactly. That's one of the reasons why anytime I talk about anything, any of the content that I do, I always put the links in the video. I always put the links in the video so that people can always go and research and make their own interpretation of the information that I interpreted. Because when I make content, when I make videos, my videos are no more, no less than my interpretation of data that's presented. That's it. I'm not going to sit there and tell you that you have to listen to everything that I say, or that I'm always correct, or if you don't do what I say, you'll fail. That's not true. This is how I see things. And I understand that respectfully, other people see things other ways. That's fine. You know what I mean? I just know what works for me. Maybe what I know isn't as efficient as what somebody else knows. So what kind of fool would I be to not explore something that somebody else could tell me that could possibly be right? I see so many people all the time, all over the place. They shut down disagreements. Disagreements and criticism are two of the most undervalued assets that exist in the world today. Disagreements and critique. Let me put it this way. How much do consultants make? Business consultants. They make a lot of money, right? What do? They get called in to critique a business. They get called in to tell a business what they're not doing correctly. People actually pay for that. And you got people out here that get offended by it. There's companies, GE, Goodyear, Walmart, IBM, Apple, law firms, hospital systems. They'll pay millions of dollars for professional level critique. And you got people that give critique every day to each other. It may not sound the way that you want to hear it. And it's just lost information. Lost information is also associated with a sunk cost. Lost information is also associated with an opportunity cost. We need to be at a point where we're operating at maximum information efficiency. No information should be wasted. All information should be utilized and maximized. All of it. Just like energy. Energy is the same thing as information. It should all be maximized. It should just never go into the air. It's not efficient. Nothing should be wasted. You know what I mean? If somebody is giving you an entire lesson, you need to memorize, understand, and utilize the entire lesson. If not, it's just gone. In nature, reactions are efficient. When there's a chemical reaction, only the right amount of energy is released in the right form. There could be noise. There could be sound. There could be light. There could be more chemicals. Whatever it is that's necessary to compensate, it happens automatically. That needs to happen with us. Every interaction should be an efficient reaction. I remember in my 20s, I started to realize that I was getting set in my ways, and I did a self-analysis and made the correct adjustments. I'm always ready to be wrong about something. Yeah, absolutely. Me too. Absolutely. I try to be right, but I'm always prepared for if I'm wrong. You have to prepare, and you have to be able to accept it, and you have to be able to not let it sink you, because being wrong is valuable. Being wrong teaches you how to be right. So that's something that you should try to minimize. But when it happens, you should look at it like an opportunity and take full advantage of it. Remember when we used to hear the term common sense? A sense that was common among us, a thing where you knew right from wrong. Exactly. Nikola Tesla, if you wish to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And I totally agree with that. Like I said, I got nothing but good things to say about Nikola Tesla. He was a brilliant man. You know what I'm saying? And like all brilliant men, he was a victim of the system of illegitimacy. You know what I'm saying? He was a victim of the system of illegitimacy on multiple fronts. Financially, in his life, they waged economic warfare on him. You know what I'm saying? Any threat. This is what I'm saying. Like when it comes to the system of illegitimacy, it's a multi-layer issue. Because we're black, we deal with the racism issue. That's one of the gears that turns the system of illegitimacy is racism. But the system of illegitimacy is a multifaceted system. And when anything challenges the system of illegitimacy, the priority automatically becomes eliminate the threat. Whether it's eliminate the threat through racism, whether it's eliminate the threat because they're challenging our dominance through free energy, eliminate the threat. Delegitimize and eliminate the threat. We'll say Nikola Tesla is a crazy mad scientist. We'll delegitimize his character and we'll eliminate the threat. He'll be found dead in some apartment in New York. Everybody that threatens the system of illegitimacy is found dead. I wonder what that Haitian president was doing because he was dead. They only allow scheduled innovations and scheduled discoveries and scheduled revolutions. Remember, if the system of illegitimacy is upside down, opposite, inverse, and incorrect, then everything that you perceived is a warped version of what actually is. If something looks like a revolution, then that means that it's voluntarily happening under the surface. Come on, everybody knows those are all examples. Those are random acts of suicide. I know, right? That's what they want us to believe. That's what they want us to believe. So we got on a long rant. That rant was actually pretty good, though. That was some pretty good, healthy dialogue, I think. So my question is, there are architects of the system of illegitimacy, in my opinion. And in my opinion, the reason why that there's architects, right? They use those symbols. They use a T-square and they use a compass. Those are symbols of tools that are used to draft things, right? And had all his work on radio technology taken by John Trump after Tesla died. Sure did. Yep. Yeah, I heard he passed away broke. Yeah, he passed away broke. The man had the solutions in his head to solve every known problem to man and, you know, bring us to being a type 1 Kardashev, a type 1 Kardashev civilization. And they delegitimized him, found him dead, took all his stuff, didn't give it back for like 10 years. If you guys watch my, I think it was in my 2 live streams ago, we go into detail in depth about that. Is that live stream with Nikola? The thumbnail has Nikola Tesla and Bitcoin on it, and it says victims of illegitimacy or something like that. I think that's the name of it. So we need to put up barriers because this thing is real. You got to ask yourself, is it worth arguing with people who don't believe that there's a system of illegitimacy in place? Is it worth it? Is it worth debate? Is anything healthy going to come out of that? In my opinion, no. In my opinion, the only debate should be with yourself about how to make yourself illegitimacy proof. I mean, those 2 bullet holes in the back of the head when Gary Webb deleted himself. People do that all the time. Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And, I'm going to make sure I'm going to do it one time, and then I'm going to follow it up with a second one just to make sure that, I get out of here clean. Like, seriously? And then they just tell it to us and repeat it 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 until you actually believe it. The Haitian president wasn't rocking with the program. There you go. So the program rocked him. That's how the system of illegitimacy go down. If you ain't rocking with the program will rock you. And that happens every single time. Every single time. There's no time when that doesn't happen. Look at Edward Snowden. Look at Gaddafi. Look at, what was that dude's name from in Venezuela? Was it Nicolas Maduro? Is that his name? Nicolas Maduro? No, not worth it. Nellie Fuller said we should only engage with folks that are productive and trying to find ways to destroy the system of illegitimacy. Yeah, big facts, Delmo. Big facts. Brother Ray, what's good, bro? Appreciate the super chat. It's not what happens. It's what you do about it that matters. I totally agree. Totally agree. Brother Ray and this bad boy dropping jewels. Ah, there we go. Okay. All right, cool. That's big facts. So here's my thing that I believe that we can do about it. Find and activate an appropriate barrier to social engineering. Because once we've identified a problem, see, and this is one of the reasons why people don't look for problems. Once you identify a problem, you then bear the responsibility to deal with that problem. And I think that a lot of people either don't want to, they're lazy, or they're too cowardly to deal with the problem. Because once you've identified a problem, then that means that a confrontation is inevitable. And I believe that people have been conditioned so badly that the fear of confrontation is just too much. Hugo Chavez, Venezuela, big facts. Tesla had the idea for free electricity. Yeah, that's facts. Did you see that live stream, MC Fact, the one with Tesla and Bitcoin on it on the thumbnail? Check that out, man. It's good. You'll like it. I've noticed that the powers that used to be are losing a lot of control, and they will destroy themselves just as a matter of when that happened. Yeah, because the idea is that if we can't have it, nobody can. My man Keldrick is in the house. Welcome to the house, my brother. Good to see you, man. Cowardice mostly. Yeah, I totally agree. Cowardice, and then there's also the issue of misdirected aggression, in my opinion, which, that you could mix that with cowardice, you know what I'm saying? And you could mix that with failure to identify a problem. But upon identifying a problem, the person who identifies the problem either has the obligation to tell people affected by the problem or to initiate and start the change or solve the problem themselves. Do you guys agree with me or do you disagree? But they couldn't get Castro. Yeah, it's one of the things they were upset with, that they couldn't get Castro. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't get Castro. So we've identified a problem and we've known that a problem has been there for a long time. Remember in the Matrix, everybody loves to use the Matrix analogies, but they use the Matrix analogies incorrectly. And they use the Matrix analogies. The Matrix is the new Bible. So the Matrix is the new Bible. You know how everybody uses there's always a verse in the Bible that'll back up anybody's talking points. Oh, black people were bad. There's the curse of Ham and Cain and all this nonsense. Okay, sure. Right. So we'll say that's from the Bible, right? Like dumb Tila tequila, right? So we'll just use the Matrix. Oh, if you feel how I feel, then you're red pilled. You know what I mean? If you disagree with me, then you're blue pilled. Okay. Well, let's actually break that down. Everybody who was on the Nebuchadnezzar at one point was red pilled, which means that Cypher was red pilled. Cypher was a damn problem. You know what I mean? There's elements of blue pill, and blue pill just simply means that you're not aware that you're in the Matrix. That's it. You haven't done anything wrong. You just don't know that there's something wrong. And you're still hardwired to what's killing you, right? And the reason why you're still hardwired is because you're not on that frequency or you haven't identified a problem, right? That's literally what the blue pill would be. If we're talking movie analysis, right? Black people are afraid to lose their job. So they're afraid of jail and really afraid of death, but blood must be shed for change. Yeah, I agree with that. Now, here's my question, Brother Ray. I like to actually challenge you on that point. Are black people afraid to lose their job, or are black people afraid of the challenge of creating their job and maintaining what they create and building on what they create and successfully passing on a cumulative creation that will provide many jobs? Are black people afraid to do that so they keep a job? Because when we're talking about job, we could actually be diving into a multi-layer issue there. Because in my opinion, it's completely wrong to accept, quote, a job. You feel what I'm saying? I'm not attacking your point. I don't, I got respect for you, brother. So I'm not coming at you. I want to expand. I want to expand on what you're saying because I agree, but I want to dive into what you just said though, because I should actually be super commenting you because that was a great comment. You know what I mean? The music is major predictive programming tool. Binaural frequency. We went from Public Enemy to Fight the Power, WAP. Who changed that dynamic? And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, bro. Who made that change? Who was the one that made that executive change? That's important. That's an excellent point, bro, as always. So my question is, what is the thing that's more terrifying? Losing a job or creating a job? If all the athletes got together, just said, forget the NBA, created their own NBA, you wouldn't have to worry about losing a job then. You own the job. When you own the job, you don't have to worry about losing it. And it's already clear that there's a market share for it. No one's going to create any new sports. That's not going to happen. So if the NBA shuts down tomorrow, then what? Fear of having to create a job. Yeah. Fear of failure, right, Keldrick? There's the fear of failure. Fear of having to create the job. Not only the fear of failure, you automatically know when it comes. See, we haven't gotten. People say that there's warfare, right? I don't see it that way, because in order for there to be warfare, there has to be an exchange of blows. There has to be a battle. We're just getting beat up. You guys understand this, right? I want everybody to be very clear on this. There is no war. There's just us getting beat up as of right now. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when is the last time we waged corporate warfare with the system of illegitimacy? And this is what I was talking about, Keldrick. You remember that video, where we were going back and forth, and you know what I mean? And we were talking, and you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about right there. What I'm talking about is, yeah, this is cool, but when we start doing things like this, you know what I'm saying? In my opinion, that's when we get to the next level. When we're dealing with now we have our business conglomerates, and now we're fighting corporately. Because not only are we fighting against humans, we're fighting against artificial people. You guys do realize that, right? There's artificial people who are part of the system of illegitimacy who are fighting against us. The media is one of them. We talk about them all the time, and we don't even realize that. You know what I mean? Easier to work for someone else. What is that? That mind state? What is that a result of, bro? I agree. You're right. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't want to do the work it would take to pull their own league. And see, and I agree with you, Shondell. There's nothing there. You are absolutely right. So when it comes to that aspect, who do we blame for that? Because we can't blame anyone else other than the people who don't want to do the work, which is sad because it shouldn't be that hard. Definitely fear of failure. Yeah. So how do we socially engineer courage? Because when we figure out what there is a lack of, and we figure out what is present and an element that's causing us to not be able to do what we need to do, now we figured it out. Keldrick says that it's fear. Brother Ray said that it had to do with losing a job. So that could be fear, right? So the umbrella of one of the issues that we have is fear. Now, what do we do to counter social engineer courage into us? How do we do it? Without our own infrastructures, without our own media, without our own message to signal, boost, and repeat, because we all know we got to use operant and classical conditioning with positive and negative reinforcement. If there's only one loudspeaker blaring that message and nobody else doing it, now that we've identified the problem, we've identified more problems. Now we identify that we need to create our own loudspeaker to overspeak the loudspeaker that's already speaking. How do we do it? Earned salary is the drug they give us to forget our dreams and go independent. Absolutely. And that's another reason why we always talk about this, Delmo. You're absolutely right. The money is wired into the system of illegitimacy. So what we need to do is start dealing with legitimate currency. American dollars are not legitimate currency. It's one of the reasons why Russia is no longer using them. Were you guys aware of that? This video was supposed to be about something else, and it took a whole hell of a turn. Were you guys aware of that? If there's a country out there that is telling you, listen, the United States, their money, it's not legitimate. You'd think that people would get the hint, right? I mean, that's an actual country. You know what I mean? See? I'm not making this stuff up, y'all. Russia's sovereign wealth fund cuts U.S. dollar reserves to zero. Would you cut your U.S. dollar reserves to zero? I would. So we're still dealing with system of illegitimacy nonsense if we deal with American dollars. And American dollars is what prevents everybody from doing what they need to do. Indoctrinated fear. Yeah, absolutely. I keep telling people, don't sell your gold. There's a reason why there are all these ads saying we will buy your gold. Yeah, Shondell, you're telling them absolutely right. You are telling them 100% right. Don't sell your gold. Buy as much of it as you can. You know what I'm saying? And make sure that you keep it. No, Brother Ray, you didn't change the topic, bro. You didn't change the topic at all, my man. The topic changed like as soon as I hit the live button. You actually have contributed a lot to where we deviated. So and again, I'm gonna tell you something too. This is gonna sound horrible, but I want everybody to listen to me. Never apologize. Nah, didn't know Russia was done with the dollar. Oh yeah, they done with it. The question you asked, how do we overcome procrastinating, going independent instead of working for someone else? Please drop the knowledge. We have to program ourselves. Why do we feel that we're going to fear? Or why do we fear that we're going to fail? Because we're looking at failure as an option. When you look at your goal, never ever look at your goal in terms of if, never look at your goal in terms of when, never look at your goal in terms of any other time frame other than I'm doing. Like when I was trying to get my YouTube channel monetized, I would get upset. I'm not gonna sit here and act like, yeah, I'm just perfect, like I always knew this was gonna happen. No, I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know at all. There would be times when I'd be really upset. I wouldn't see any channel growth. I'd be, really angry. You know what I mean? Like it's like, man, I'm trying to work hard. I'm trying to get my live streams looking good. I'm trying to get everything crisp. I'm investing all of this money into my studio. Like, man, what's going on? Like I'm doing the things on the YouTube creator, studio or whatnot. And I know there's certain elements of content, that's more popular than others. The stuff that I talk about is not real popular, but it's like, what am I doing? Then I get out of that mind state. I say, you know what? Stop. You got to snap out of it. This is what I'm doing. Bite down, shut up, and do it. If you have a goal, time frame's not important. Completing the goal is important. My goal of completion is to get my YouTube channel to be a premium YouTube channel because I enjoy doing this. I enjoy making content and I enjoy having conversations with people, especially about stuff like this. So this is one of the things that I want to do and I'm going to do it. Period. There's no ultimatum. That's how we need to train ourselves. We also need to train ourselves starting with our kids. No options. As a parent, you had a right to be a dictator. Only the government has to not be dictators. You can be a dictator as a parent. Your kids can tell you they want to be whatever. Okay, yeah, you can do that as long as you do what I'm telling you to do. And this is what I'm telling you to do. And as your parent, you better do it. Why do you think there's so many, Asian doctors, Asian engineers? Because there's a minimum thing that they have to do. And then once they do that, they can do something else. It's the same thing with other cultures. Okay, you can do whatever you want to as long as you as long as you get your Juris Doctorate and you become a lawyer. As long as you've done that, yeah, you can be a lawyer that went back to cosmetology school and you can just do hair. That's what you want to do. But the minimum of what you're going to do is become a lawyer. You're going to do that. We don't do that. Just happened upon this channel, but you got my subscription. Hey, I appreciate that, Shondell. I appreciate that very much. Sometimes this could be a fear of success as well. Yeah, I think it is because there's a lot of responsibility that comes with success. And one of the problems that I think happens is that people don't know what to do with success. They don't know what to do with responsibility. Look at Infinite. That's a great point because look at all of the people who these athletes that make all of this money and you're like, man, they made a lot of money. Like that's good for them. And then, a couple of years later down the line, they're crackheads or they're broke or they're working at UPS or they're delivering Amazon. Like an ex-NBA champion is walking up on your stairs to drop off a package. And you're like, what happened? How does something like that happen? Something like that happens in a system of illegitimacy. And remember, in a system of illegitimacy, it starts destroying you as soon as you're born. So that means that the deprogramming and the barrier has to start as soon as you're born. This is a lifetime battle that we're engaged in. And in order to win a lifetime battle, you have to be dedicated. You have to plan ahead. That means that you have to be dedicated for generations. People talk about generational wealth. There needs to be generational strategy. We don't make class strategy moves. By the third or fourth generation, I want this family to be, lower upper class. I want our working, net worth to be at least, $2 billion collectively. Nobody has those conversations because we're so like where we are. Those aren't even conversations that we have. Let's have a succession plan. Listen, here, come sit down. You know what I'm saying? This is granddad, you know what I mean? This is grandma, and we've owned these companies, for this long. You know what I'm saying? Now, I know you're going to college for this. You're going to college for that. You're going to college for this. I want you to run the accounting department. I want you to run the legal department. I want you to run the whole business. We're not going to argue about it. I don't care about what you guys think about it. That's just what you're going to do. And as granddad, as your grandma, you know what I'm saying? This is my dying wish, and you're going to do it. And these are the plans that I have, because by the time you guys are my age, I expect my business to be here. Instead of 4 stores, I expect us to have 5 stores. And then I expect your kids to be working on moving us into another state. Who has those conversations? Have you ever had a conversation like that? I've never had no conversation like that. And I'm not saying that to put my parents down. I'm saying that because my parents was paycheck slaves. Do you know that there's some people that the conversations that they have with their kids, it's not where you're going to work, it's how many people your company is going to have working for them? That's the conversation. But listen, by the time I retire, I want to have 500 employees working for me. Do you think you're going to be able to manage that, son? My question is, have you guys ever had conversations like that? Is that a conversation that has ever been had? Now we've identified a problem, because I'm sure if you're like me, a lot of us have never had those conversations, because dealing with that kind of generational wealth and that kind of generational strategy is completely alien. But do you know that almost everyone else in the United States has that conversation? Job is actually slavery. It's paid slavery. Yeah, I agree. I actually agree, and I actually disagree, because my disagreement is actually going to make you change your point. A job is slavery because you actually get paid in money that's not worth anything, which effectively means that you're getting paid nothing to do everything. So yes, a job is slavery. You know what I'm saying? Like, I totally agree. So that means that now we're training our future generations to be slaves. We're training ourselves into a permanent underclass. We don't need no system of illegitimacy, because people that we love are wired into it. So they don't have to be. They don't have to present themselves in the way that they present themselves, because they have internal mechanisms of us doing it. Our parents telling us to go to college and get a job. Everybody tells you, get a job. What the hell do you mean, get a job? I don't tell my kids to get a job. I tell my kids to get a business. Get a business. I'm going to teach you guys now how to manage money. I'm going to teach you guys now about different assets. I'm going to teach you guys now why it's important to understand your full history and your full identity. I'm going to teach you guys now how to create knowledge that is invaluable, so that the world cannot operate without your presence. Do you guys understand that having absolute knowledge and being a complete dominant in a market is absolute power? If we were able to corner the energy market, do you understand that the world will not be able to function without us? I mean, it can't function without us now, and it's suppressed, and we're all the way into a permanent underclass. But imagine if we actually became a market dominance. The world wouldn't be able to function at all. So we'd be able to demand respect and not give a shit what they actually said. The only reason why we care about what people say behind our backs, you know what I mean, is because that comes with a consequence. If we ran things, there would be no consequence. You'd just be snickering, and that's just it. even though I had a lot of people disagree with this, I had said that indentured servitude is slavery, even though they agreed at a certain point by both parties. Yeah, I mean, it's not the same as chattel slavery, but it's still a form of slavery. Yeah. That's why people always come with that talking point. Well, the Irish were slaves too. Okay, they didn't have whips put across their backs, you know what I mean? Like they didn't have their entire culture stripped. They came over here as Christians, but like yeah, no, you're right though. Indentured servitude is absolutely slavery. And indentured servitude for real is no different than putting in a job application and working at a place. With that with that logic, a business will be funded by worthless currency. But will it though, brother Ray? Will it? Who said? See, this is what I'm talking about the programming. The programming is so deep that we're assuming that we have to fund our business with illegitimate currency. The only time we have to use illegitimate currency is when we have to transact with the system of illegitimacy. And unfortunately, because we're here, we just have to do that. There's no game of chess if the pawns don't play. Yeah, that's big facts, Jesse. That's facts. So why would you see like Russia, right? Look at what Russia's doing. Russia is not using dollars. So what did they do? They got rid of their worthless currency. So if Russia is a country and it's operational, you mean that on a smaller scale, you don't think that we could be operational? There's alternative forms of money that can be used. And again, we can minimize the amount of dollars that we use. You know what I mean? We don't necessarily have to use dollars. We can only use dollars when necessary, if that's the way people want to go. We can hold assets like gold. We can hold assets like Bitcoin, and we can swap those things out for dollars when necessary. Got to take the fiat money and buy things that are tangible, like land. Yeah, exactly. So when it's time to buy some land, you can convert your crypto, right? Or you can convert your gold just for the amount that you need to buy. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, keep everything else in a reserve. Russia not using dollars, and that's why we can't tell them nothing. See that? Facts. Facts, Shondell. But you know what's funny? What do rappers put in the camera? They put in the dollars, right? They put in dollars like stacks of money as if that like you're showing something. You're showing worthless stacks of dollars. We're killing each other over here for worthless stacks of dollars. While you got Putin over there in Russian that says, you know, goodbye. But we don't have sense enough to do it. Vladimir Putin has never been enslaved in the United States ever, and he understands how to deal with the system of illegitimacy, and we dealt with that for 400 years, and we have yet to even make the kind of step that Vladimir Putin made. How does that make? Somebody explain that to me. How does that work on the timeline? The United States' biggest weapon and biggest strength is the same thing as its biggest weakness, is economic dominance. Remember, in a system of illegitimacy, there's always duality. So the biggest strength is the biggest weakness. The economy is the biggest thing that we use to bully everybody, but when it crashes, we're done. And guess what? It's crashing. Facts, Jesse. Those videos with cash, that's social programming. That's a fact. That's a fact. It starts at birth. Yeah. Yeah. It most definitely starts at birth. So, yo, brother Ray, are you still in here? So my question, because you've been dropping some great comments as always. What do we do now? That's my question. What do we do now? See, because the thing is that when we dive into this stuff, now we start coming up with, well, I see a problem here. 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 So now that we're starting to see these problems, now we need to start coming up with solutions. Because remember, when you identify a problem, you bear the responsibility of notifying people that there's a problem, and you bear the responsibility of working to fix the problem. That's how the U.S. controls all these places. They get them to accept the dollar. So that means that they can impact the country's economy. Absolutely. And install politicians. Absolutely, Shondell. You're absolutely right. And we can if NATO, right, the North American I'm sorry, not NATO, NAFTA, if NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Organization, who is the economic bloc that distributes dollars as its currency, if your currency is affected by organizational policy and not the natural supply and demand that dictates your economy, then you're subject to American foreign policy, as well as fluctuations in the United States dollar and the petrodollar. You basically are selling your soul. One of the reasons why what we need to do is we need to start investing in tangible commodities, not currency. We need to start using Bitcoin. We need to start having gold reserves. We need to have a minimum amount of dollars. I fear we are too late, honestly. Shit is going to collapse, period. There will be a reset from that big bang. How will we rebuild life here? Just my thought and fear. No, I agree. They have a plan to reset. However we rebuild, what we need to, the biggest focus of the rebuilding, see, the rebuild is a problem because the rebuild is something that is meant to, it's meant to have the population fight each other. The people who actually hold all of the money, nothing is resetting with them. It's only us being reset. They're going to redistribute. They're going to reset the middlemen. That's what's happening. That's what that means. So that means that there's going to be a bunch of people killing each other and scrambling on the bottom for scraps. We're going to have Mad Max, escape from New York, escape from LA type situations. That's the reset. Those people are going to be fine. They're going to be in their underground bunkers. Bill Gates is going to be in his stupid satellite thing. He's going to be fine. What needs to happen during the Great Reset is a rival elite class needs to be created. There needs to be a rival elite secret society class created that, when things normalize, is able to mobilize and position and counter the elite class that's alive now. That's what needs to happen. Who are the elite's rivals? Who tells them no? Who hits back when they hit? Facts. We're so hypnotized by baubles and bangles. Yeah, I totally agree, Sherry Lynn. What up? I totally agree. So what needs to happen during this Great Reset is that we need to understand that the major problem is that there's only one elite class. Anytime there's a problem, it's always because there's not a counter to an issue that's going on. That's the reason why the universe exists. The reason the universe exists is because we have matter and antimatter. If there was an imbalance of matter and antimatter, the universe would implode. We have a power imbalance. There's elites and then there's everybody else. There's no mirror elite class. So what we need to be doing is working on creating a rival elite class. Rob, my man, I would like to be a satellite broker. Ultimate space station. How do we get one of those? I know, right? One of those dope underground bunkers that cost like $9 million. That's nuclear bomb proof. Remember, predictive programming, they showed that in American Horror Story, I think season 6. Reset. Economies will collapse. Governments will introduce universal wages with the caveat you plug into a database and biometrics to receive it. That's big facts. That is huge facts. That's the plan. We already know that it's inevitable. But what happens when that elite class gets too powerful? Who will stop or keep them in check? That's a good question. There needs to be an internal, irreversible, and infallible system of checks and balances, because the elite class that I'm talking about should only operate in a function to create a counterforce to the existing elite structure. That's a good question. And that's definitely a potential problem, because I don't think that the secret societies that are alive today, I don't think that those secret societies that are around today started out bad. I think what happened is, as always, they became corrupted. A rival class is on the horizon. It's happening on the stock market. There's about to be the greatest transfer of wealth ever seen, and it's going to happen in the next year. I can elaborate if needed. Oh, that's what's up. I believe it, though. I believe it. I would put the link in so you could call in and talk about it, but I'm probably about to end this in about 15 minutes because I got to get ready for work, unfortunately. But next time I go live, if you come to my live stream, for sure, I drop the link and you could definitely call in and let us know. You know what I'm saying? Because that would be great, because I'm sure everybody in here is interested in that, because that's what we talk about. I think elitism should be done away with, in my opinion. I agree. I totally agree. Here's my thing, Brother Ray. You missed that video when I actually talked about. No worries. Yeah, next time for sure. That'll be dope, because actually that's like what we need. That's what we need to talk about. So what happens when we talk about 6 figures in Bitcoin? Because they said that George Soros has like 6 figures in Bitcoin. So what kind of value do that make him? Self-production is a must. Absolutely. Good. Yeah, you already know what's up, you Law. You already know, bro. We in here. You know what I'm saying? So we got to start programming ourselves. And one of the things that we have to start programming ourselves for is to be able to rival and produce. Who decides what is wealth? Things only have value if people find value in those things. What is worth more in the middle of a desert? A bottle of water or a diamond? Exactly. And that is what part of that programming is. Look up what is happening with the AMC and GameStop stock. Oh, yeah, for sure. What you should look into is this. There's a cryptocurrency called Tokalon, and Tokalon can be staked into a coin called LON. And LON has a 70% APY. So you'll be getting paid 70%. So that's 70 cents on every dollar of Tokalon that you stake as LON. All right. If you watch if you watch my old Tales from the Cryptocurrency live streams, I talk about that. And I think in the description box, it shows you how to get to all the stuff to be able to take advantage of that. So we need to figure out what's important, because what's important should be what drives what has value. Now, I find it okay. Like, that's interesting. It's funny that Brother Ray brought that up. The high value male, right? And y'all know how I do. I don't really be trying to like get all into talking about other YouTubers, you know what I'm saying? But that high value male principle is interesting. It's very interesting to me. To me. 'Cause, 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 because value isn't fixed. It's fluid and dynamic. And there's many ways that people can perceive value. It's not something that you can really make it's not something that you can really make like a standard index. You know what I mean? Uh-oh. H&M's. That's hilarious. Yeah, some people, some people get into that. You know what I mean? That ain't my thing. You know what I'm saying? That whole rabbit hole, yeah. It's just kind of odd. It's like, okay, like that's cool. Like I got a nice house, I got a nice car, but there's like mad George Soros is out there. Like there's George Soros, there's Warren Buffett, there's Charles Icahn, Donald Trump, if we're talking about people with money, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates. So, okay, so if we're talking, let's actually dive into this rabbit hole. So one of the qualifications is a network of, quote, other high value individuals, right? So my question is, for the definition of high value man, as we all know it, of all of the high value men out there, how many of those high value men have access to George Soros, the Rothschilds, Michael Dell, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Donald Trump, Charles Icahn, and Warren Buffett? So wait a minute. So now we have a 8-male network, right? That's an 8-male network. Elon Musk, we'll put him in there. So now we have an 8-male network, right? Of any of these alleged high value men, how many men in this network do they have access to? So what does that make this network? What does that make this network here? What does that make the Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos? What does that make the Mars, the men who are going to Mars network? Because there is a network of men who are going to Mars. So what kind of value do they have? Yeah. So if they don't have access to that network, then shouldn't these alleged HVMs in theory be passed over for the Mars network? If women are somehow, whether these men are simps or whatever happens, but if these men allow the women who are competing for high value men to access them, does that eliminate the high value male? And then they can just get access to this, I guess, elite class of male? Because remember, the HVM has access to, quote, other HVMs. But in this echelon here with Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and all of them, Mark Zuckerberg, right? Jack Dorsey, these alleged high value men, they don't have access to this layer. But this layer up here is a whole network that has access to any and everything that they want. So what is this? What do we call the Jack Dorsey, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk? What do we call that network? Because that is we can all agree that is a network, right? Like that does exist, right? Yeah, and I agree. Inaccessible. What is the closest thing we have to somebody like that? That HVM standard is not as high as women make it to be. Yeah. I don't know, man. I think that men and women are just completely kind of unrealistic. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what's going on in people's heads. I think it's like what Infinite said and what Jesse was saying about the pineal gland not being able to function properly. You know what I'm saying? That only applies to single black men. What's that? The HVM standard? So how would you define a high value white man then? And we're not in a vacuum. White men and black men compete. In an isolated academic vacuum of space, we can act like there's just this bubble of high value black man, but we're not. We're in a dissipated society, which means that everybody is integrated. So these alleged high value black men are competing with Jack Dorsey. They're competing with Elon Musk. They're competing with Donald Trump. Just for future reference, my name is Zero. Oh, okay, cool. I'm sorry. I Zero. Jack Dorsey banned Trump's tweets as president of the United States. Now that's power. Facts. Jack Dorsey banned the president's tweets. Mark Zuckerberg took him off of Facebook. Who in a high value network has on their resume that they had the power to remove the United States president from social media? That's a good point, Delmo. Who in someone's high value network has removal of the United States president from social media as a power move on their resume? Who has that? What network? So, oh, wait a minute. Two people in the same network, Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg, they're in the same network. They both removed the president. Now, my question is, of the HVMs, who has access to those? So HVMs, that's hilarious. Yeah, I might have to tend to agree with you on that. I think that it's what we're going to do is we're going to ignore everybody else again so that we don't have to compete and so that we don't have to directly confront. And in my opinion, that's just going to keep us where we are. I want to know a HVM that is working to get to Mars, and I want to know a HVM that has removed the president from social media. And I want to know if there's an HVM that has access to that group. If Bill Gates woke up with the money of the so-called HVM, he'd jump off a building. Yeah, facts. He'd end things. The HVM are having a conversation about him being divorced. I think Melania Gates may be divorcing him. And after Melania takes him to court, regardless of what's right or what's wrong, after Melania runs him through the court, he'll still be worth probably all of the high value men put together. The president never had any real power, only perceived power. That's big fact, Zero. Yeah. Well, when I'm talking about the president, when I'm talking about Donald Trump in this for this particular discussion, I'm just talking about him in terms of financial resources. I'm not talking about him as far as president, but the only why I'm bringing him up as president is because of what Jack Dorsey and Zuckerberg did. The richest white man is way richer than the richest black man. Yeah. The richest white men are so bored that they're starting to colonize again. They're trying to take over Mars. We're still trying to get out of colonization down here on Earth. And I mean, like, I don't understand. I don't even understand how, like, this is an argument or a discussion. Like how we say, like, certain people in the population at large live under a delusion. There's an element of us who live under some serious delusions as well. And it's really sad. You know what I'm saying? The high value man that's talked about in the black manosphere work for other people in high paid jobs. They can easily lose their jobs under the system. There we go. And we're dealing with the job, dealing with the concept of a job. Federal Reserve runs this country. Yeah, big facts. And the Bilderberg Group. Yeah. How many HVMs have access to the Bilderberg Group? I want to know, because the Bilderberg Group is an actual network of high value people. What HVM has access to a Bilderberg meeting? Give me your invitation to when you went to a Bilderberg meeting. And because the president has no power, that's why a black man could be president. Facts. You need to watch. I have a video on my channel that's called Barack Obama, the Powerless President. You need to watch that video. Help your boy out with some watch time. But my question is, how many HVMs have been invited to a Bilderberg meeting, have sat in a Bilderberg meeting, or have access to someone who could easily and readily show an invitation to a Bilderberg meeting? Because can we all agree the Bilderberg people invited to the Bilderberg meeting, that's definitely an indication that you have power and resources, correct? So we have the HVM. What do we call the Bilderberg network? Because the Bilderberg network is above that network with Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg and all them, right? So now we got two layers on top of the HVM. So by HVM, what's the limit? We're talking about only 6 figures, or nah? There's other criteria. I think it's like 6 figures. Then there's a monthly income of like $10,000 a month or something like that. Being able to have a network being able to have access to a network of 10 or more high value men or something like that. They don't even know who the Bilderberg group is. Yeah, exactly. I mean, okay, I have a question, right, Shondell? And this is okay. So if we're talking about finance, if we're talking about resource, would it be acceptable or not acceptable to say that the Boule Society is a network group within the black community? We all know that they're anti-black, you know what I'm saying? But they have power, resources. They fit these variables, right? Like we could insert variables and they'll fit. So inside of the black community, we have the Boule, right? So would the Boule Society be above the HVM in terms of resources, power, and influence? See, what up, man? Good to see you. No, man, it's just the 6 figures for real. Well, I'm trying to be as honest as I can because I think he said that there was other criteria. I think the 6 figures is the one that stands out. Then there's the whole 666 thing, right? Which is some weird shit to me because now we're talking about cubes and Saturn boxes, but whatever. So we're just gonna say now like 6 feet 6 inches 6 figures. Like okay, we're doing geometria now. That's what we're doing. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Are we really going down that road? You know what I'm saying? Like all right, LinkedIn level, right, means working for a white man. Yeah. Because see, if we had a real high value network, the high value network would be us owning LinkedIn, all of the high value men on LinkedIn, those men reinvesting in LinkedIn, right? Like LinkedIn would be the hub. We don't have a hub. Had me thinking back in the day when I rewatched it. Yes, they would be a long shot. Yeah. Okay. So now we've created a hierarchy of value. All right. At the top, we have the Bilderberg group. It is undeniable that the Bilderberg group supersedes the minimum HVM qualifications, right? It's undeniable. Then we have, we could say, the tech gurus, right? The information age people. We got Jack Dorsey, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Michael Dell, these people, right? They're in their own little network. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, right? So that would be the immediate, they would be under the Bilderberg group. Then under that group, which there's probably even groups, because then we're still dealing with old money, and there's old white money that can fall in between any of those groups. I haven't even mentioned the Walton family. Like, let's not forget that Sam Walton, the guy that created Walmart, his entire family is billionaires. All right. So let's not forget that. Okay. So, I mean, technically, if we actually did this, if we created a hierarchy, technically the Walton family would be their own high value network. I mean, just technically that family could fall within one of those networks, or they could just be their own network. And that, I haven't even mentioned the oil industry. I haven't mentioned the Saudi Arabian people that have all the money. You know, the Arabic people in Dubai who are rich. Haven't mentioned any Asian tech companies. You know, because they all, we all know that Asians, China is doing really well as far as advancing toward 5G, right? Yeah. So we haven't like there's like, when it comes to dealing with this, there's these little pockets of old white money that just falls into all of these groups, right? Like let's not, I mean, like Alexander Graham Bell, there's still Bells out there. There are still descendants of Bell out there benefiting from Verizon, benefiting from AT&T, benefiting from Spectrum. Like, those people that we don't even know about are like out there somewhere. And then after all of these like sprinkles of old white money into these hierarchies of fixed white money, right? Then we have the, like, at the bottom of all of that, because you have to remember, those people are the ones that print and created the financial system. So they printed and created the financial system to benefit them the most. So because we're in a system that benefits them the most, they're always going to be on top. And everything else is going to be trickled down, like what President Reagan said, trickle down economics. All right. So they're locked in. So now who are the newcomers? The newcomers will be the boule. Now, the boule actually has access. The boule actually has upward access. The boule is the only network of black people that has access upwards to the apex of the pyramid. And HVM is under boule, and HBM may or may not have access to boule. So now, if we're competing in an equal competition state where everybody has access to everybody, where do HVM, as defined by, common day vernacular, fall when we're looking at the space of these money places all over the place, these financial locations here, right? Yes, Bell own all the phone lines in the entire country. Yeah, and then we have like Dominion Gas. I mean, yeah, like they're sitting right on top of their wealth source. Yeah, exactly. The Bells are benefiting from something that Alexander Graham Bell didn't even invent. Yeah, facts. Did you hear about Charles Drew, who separated plasma from whole blood? He died needing it, and white doctors refused to give it to him because he was black, so he died. That's crazy. Yes, I know all about Charles Drew. That's messed up, man. That is crazy. Now I got to look into that. That's because the boule are under the skull and bones. Right, exactly. So, but here's my thing though, Zero. That element of the boule being linked to the skull and bones, that's the only remnant of any high value black network having access to the upper echelons of the pyramid. So when we're looking on a totalitarian scale of value, where does HVM fall? Like I said, it's just gold digger talk. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of talk that it is. In my opinion, it's talk that we can say, we can pat ourselves on the back and say, hey, I make 6 figures. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a high value man. Forget that. I want to own 6 solar systems. What are you talking about? You got 6 figures. Elon Musk is trying to own a planet. You talking about some damn money. Boule got very old money. HVM is just something lambs want to call themselves to boost esteem. Look down on women that don't want them. Yeah. And I think it actually goes a little bit deeper than that. I think it's a little bit deeper than that. I think it gives us a fake sense of comfort and security in a system of illegitimacy that we're perpetually failing in. It gives you a false sense of success. It gives you a false sense of, it gives you a false sense of status. One of the weapons of the system of illegitimacy is illegitimate status. So if we create an illegitimate status, all we have to do is say, I meet these criteria. I'm this, and you're not. That's what they did when they created race. That's what they did when they created white. That's what they did when they created black. What's the difference? I have 6 figures. I have access to 10 other people that make 6 figures, and you don't. So that separates me from you, and that makes me better. Yeah, me, on the other hand, I don't have any of that, but I do own a planet. HVM is in the basement of the construct. Yeah, big facts. Got 6 figures and don't even own 6 acres of land. Don't even have a visa to get into 6 different countries. Don't even have stocks on 6 different exchanges. Don't even own 6% of 6 different industries. We could expand that Rubik's Cube. How about 6 generations of wealth? How about a high-value family? The Waltons are a high-value family. How about that? There's a lot of high-value families. And, people feel kind of way about this, because of our history with slavery and all that. But those families in the South that had the plantations that have, now that, they still making money. Like, look at the royal family in England. The royal family, the Waltons, is a high-value family. The Waltons actually have resources. They have artifacts. Shit. Yeah, they have artifacts from 6 different continents. How about that? Let's add that 6 on there. 6 different continents. Artifacts from 6 different continents. How about this? They enslaved 6 different cultures. How about that? They own land on 6 different continents. Their royal flag is in 6 different countries' flags. How about that? Dang, I ain't 6 figures, and I even have stock on 6 exchanges. Like, for real, damn. No, but I'm just saying, like, we can do this. The way I look at stuff is like, look at everything like the universe. Like, okay, yeah, we have a sun, and like the sun is nice, but like then there's Betelgeuse that's like huge. Like the Milky Way is nice, like it's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like we live here, it's good for our purposes, but then like there's like supermassive galaxies. Like the Earth is nice, you know what I mean? Like it's a cool place, but like it's the size of like a crater on Jupiter. So like when you look at things in perspective and you look at things holistically, it really puts you in check. We can create some type of designation and look down on people and look nice. But then when you blow it up and you project it on the screen and you look at a heat map and see where you actually fall on that heat map, sit down and figure out how to get to where you want to be at on the heat map instead of using that heat map to try to make others feel like they're not worth anything. Got 6 figures, but raggedy teeth. Just all of the billionaires and all of the people that just all of the billionaires and people of influence around are a part of British or English royal family. Yeah, that's facts. Royal family. Meghan Markle actually married into a royal family, a high value family, a literal, actual high value family. Now, she may be getting treated like, she may not be getting treated nice, but you know what I'm saying? Like that comes with the territory. She knew what time it was when she was doing that. But at the end of the day, though, she's still married into it. How about Vatican City and those clowns? There's some old money and stolen artifacts. Yeah, big facts. Big facts. The Vatican. What about beating them at their own game, which we can do if people would just take the time to learn how the game is played? In order to, you're right, Shondell. First and foremost, the first step is we have to get people to identify that there is a game. Some of us are playing the game, and some of us are being played by the game. That first barrier is getting past the risk of that person shooting you or terminating your friendship because they don't want to hear anything about how they might need to make existential changes in their life, because that's just how a lot of people react. So how do we do that? How do we program? How do we let people know, hey, you need to go get a CAT scan because you got malignant cancer and it's about to get in your lymph nodes. The system of illegitimacy is a malignant tumor. And, there's about to be lymph node involvement. So how do we do that? If we're walking around in a bubble thinking that, pennies makes you high value, is there? So let's actually dive into this a little bit more. So we've created an artificial construct, right? We've created an artificial. What is an artificial construct? Isn't a matrix an artificial construct? These are the same people that talk about the matrix, blue pill, red pill. We've created an artificial construct that tells us that we're more competitive than we actually are. All right, cool. Instead of actually looking at the uncomfortable truth of things like Elon Musk, of things like Sam Walton, of things like Jeff Bezos, instead of looking at that uncomfortable truth, we stay plugged into our illusion that our six-figure job makes us the prize. Don't that sound a lot like staying plugged into the matrix? Does that actually sound like a red pill, or does that sound like Cypher voluntarily staying plugged into an illusion that is incorrect? But yet these are the same people going around telling everybody else what pill they took. You created your own matrix and plugged yourself back in. That's what you did. The illusion of inclusion, facts. You created your own matrix and then plugged yourself back into it. You know what I'm saying? Anything to anesthetize the pain of living in a torture chamber of the system of illegitimacy. Anything to anesthetize that pain instead of a direct confrontation. One of the reasons I have issues with a lot of that, you know what I'm saying? We can't save everybody, so the truth is hard to swallow and the water is rising. You got to keep moving. Take each other's hand and climb up or drown. Yeah, that's big facts. People think that the rich invest in the stock market only to make money. They don't. They understand that if you're major, you can also control a company, and that's an end game. Listen, you can destroy a country. Got another qualification for you. You guys ready for this one? I got another qualification for you. How many HVMs have actually caused 6 countries to crash their economic system? I know George Soros has. He's done that. He crashed the Bank of Britain. He crashed Russia. He crashed Taiwan, Latin America. One, maybe two, right. Right. How many HVMs have actually financed aggressively? Do you know George Soros attacks? George Soros is the only, well, he might not be the only, but he's one of the only people in the world that is powerful enough financially to attack countries using money. This dude wages economic warfare on the United States. He's betting against the dollar. He did the same thing to the Bank of Britain. That's how he broke the Bank of Britain. We're not even thinking in terms of fighting corporate warfare. I keep telling everybody we need to come together. You know what I'm saying? We need to create businesses. With those businesses, we need to fight. We need to fight in the courtroom. We need to fight at the corporate level. We need to come up with a YouTube that rivals YouTube, go beyond YouTube, take the money that we get, buy YouTube, and break YouTube apart so that there's no competition. We need to go through and destroy the competition. Genghis definitely counts. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Genghis counts. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Heck yeah. So, hey, Lucas, what's up, man? Soros, much like the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, are lobbying for a universal coin. That's how they get you. That's big facts. Is there any HVMs lobbying for a universal coin? Is there any HVMs that that have six-figure Bitcoin amounts? Because there are people out there that have that. There are people out there that have six-figure Bitcoin amounts. See? 160,000 Bitcoin. How much money is that, y'all? We're not talking six figures in dollars. Man, we talking six figures of Bitcoin. I tried to do that. Black folks wouldn't support it, and it was free. You know what? You might have been dealing with the wrong black folks. Sometimes you cannot continue to talk to a wall unless you know, and expect the wall to talk back. As much as it breaks your heart that the wall won't talk back, sometimes you just got to understand that the wall won't talk back, and you got to walk away, and you got to find like-minded people, and you got to understand that in the greater scheme of things, success means that you have to find different ways to compete. You can, like Jesse has said, you can take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink, and you can't hold yourself responsible for that. You identified a problem and you identified an opportunity and you presented it. Your hands are clean. If everybody else wants to die, then they die. That's pretty much what happened with Lot. That's pretty much what happened with Noah. That's pretty much what's just going to keep happening throughout the world. It is what it is. Sometimes that needs to happen. I hate saying it sounding like that, but you know. President Kennedy wanted to transfer power from the Federal Reserve to silver certificates prior to his death. More than likely, one of the reasons that caused his death. We can never do that. A universal currency. The minute we do that, it's over. Yep, Lincoln wanted to do that. Kennedy did that, and they killed both of them. Yes, it did break my heart. I bet. HVM ain't nothing but gold digger talk. What's good, Born King? Yeah, it does. It breaks your heart when you see opportunities and you want to say, look, I can help you, man. Like, there's these things that we can do. And, you know, people just, they don't want to listen. Unfortunately, like when it comes to like making change and when it comes to, you know, advancement, everybody is not like on that ship. And it's not your responsibility to save everybody. Yeah, Destro does play a good. Hey, Born King, listen, I didn't even get a chance to do the video that I wanted to do, man, because we just got into such a good conversation. Like, You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't even get to play none of this. I'm gonna do this live stream again tomorrow, but I'm gonna do it with the actual material that I had planned. You know what I'm saying? Because I actually had like material planned. You know what I mean? But we just got into a good conversation and like, but I agree, Destro does. You know what I'm saying? Destro was the best. He was the best. And Destro was independent. And that's what people don't know. Destro actually wasn't part of Cobra. He was a contractor. Another reason why that brother was smart. You know what I'm saying? A country that relies on currency not backed by material value is a failed country. At the end of the day, money is that, just paper. Yeah, that's facts. You guys ever heard of what's called a balance of payment crisis? If you guys ever heard of a balance of payments crisis, and I think, Lucas, you probably know because I think you might have actually experienced one in your lifetime. I'm sorry. I came in, y'all. I was just chopping it up. So I went in. No, you're fine. Everybody is welcome. You know, I mean, it'd be nice to grow the channel, but, YouTube don't like people talking about the stuff that I talk about. So, I'm dependent on the people who come, repeatedly to my live streams and engage, you know what I'm saying, the chat and call in and different things like that when we do call-ins. If y'all not subscribed to my other channel, you know what I'm saying, make sure y'all go to Blacklight Revelations, just regular Blacklight Revelations, because me and my man Izzy do a podcast on Wednesday nights, and it's hilarious. You know what I'm saying? By you keeping the channel, you helped me because there's not too many people I can express my views with. So thank you. I appreciate that, Constance. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's not a lot of people that, like kind of talk about this kind of stuff. So, you know what I'm saying? Like there is that small group of us, you know what I'm saying? Like people like Brother Ray, my man Delmo, my dude Draga, my dude U-Law, D Lim, all my people that come all the time, like Jesse, Keldrick, Greg, you know what I'm saying? It's always the same people here for the most part. But that's a good thing, though. You know what I mean? Like, that's a good thing. And that's why we have been bankrupt for about 80 plus years. They let the Fed run the game on them. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Rob is really easy to talk to. B1. Yeah, that's big facts, U-Law. You already know. And you know how I am, man. I ain't just about to go in on somebody. Like, I don't. The only time I go in on people is like if I'm doing a video and I'm talking about a particular topic. Like, I'll go in and like troll and like make fun of the topic or make fun of people in the topic. But, if I'm having like a respectable conversation for the most part, as long as like people aren't being like completely crazy, like I'm very like, open-minded and easy to talk to. You know what I'm saying? Man, these are conversations I only get to have with myself because people around me run when I talk about this stuff. And what do you think that is? That's programming. That's operant conditioning with negative reinforcement. They have negatively been operantly conditioned to run when talking about obtaining power. Why? You can't waste your time. I don't want to be offensive. I don't want to sound mean. When you pick up on that, it's kind of like life support. It's kind of like euthanasia. You know what I'm saying? You got to say, you know what? I can't help anymore. This respirator is not going to help you walk again. This feed tube is not going to get you back to 100%. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? Byron Allen's lawsuits against Viacom showed he had no interest in creating an unhinged network. It can be done. Yeah, absolutely, Sari Lynn. Byron Allen is an idiot. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that dude. He's a complete man. If he's not an illusion, I don't know what is. Yeah, it's a hard thing to learn. Actually, it's not a hard thing to learn. It's an easy thing to learn. The difficulty comes in accepting it. Do I really want to help this person. I really want to see you do better. I really want to like you're living where you're not optimizing your life. And I see so much potential in you. You have to look at the supply and demand curve and see where the value stops with how much energy you're putting into that. Because at some point, you start to put more energy into that than you're putting into productive products for yourself. And as much as it may sound, selfish, well, you're yourself, so you should be selfish. You should do things to make yourself better. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're taught not to do that, but I don't agree with that. You should always look out for yourself first. You know what I mean? It's easy. It was just disappointing. Yeah, yeah. It's very disappointing. It's very disappointing when I look out in the world and I look at my counterparts. That's very disappointing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get irritated. Like, seriously, we can't do no better than this. Really? You know what I'm saying? Like, really? We can't do no better than Byron Allen? Idiot. Really? Man, if I'm ever in the position and have the kind of resources that Byron Allen has, they are not going to write very nice things about me in history books. But I don't care. Because remember, if they don't write nice things about you in history books, then you were probably fighting for a legitimate cause. How often do you hear about John Brown in history books? You know what I'm saying? And I always bring him up because, like, you never hear anything about him. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know? But that's what we need to do. We need to understand whatever that defect is that causes people to shy away from the responsibility of obtaining power. Because that's a problem. We don't need the system of illegitimacy anymore. It's internalized. If racism went away tomorrow, racism just went away. The residuals of internal damage from centuries of racism inside of our brain has not. So racism going away only makes the world look better. It doesn't make any outcome easier for us because we're the only people that have to deal with it on an internal level. No one else does. And because you can't see inside of people or you can't read their minds, then you don't understand it. You know what I mean? So there's no purpose in fighting racism because if it goes away tomorrow, it still hasn't gone away unless you get a lobotomy and get that part of your brain removed. Or if you do some gene editing and get that epigenetics removed from your DNA. So fighting racism is a moot point. Because at the end of the day, the end battle with racism is inside yourself. Because a lot of the internalized psychiatric issues that it has caused are a lot of what causes us barriers to success or even barriers to seek success. We have to fix ourselves. We have to be open to change and open to new ideas. And we need to not worry about fighting racism. I don't give a shit if somebody wants to be racist or not. I just want money, power, and resources. That's facts, Jesse. Domination. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way. Once we dominate, we'll be able to unprogram all of that nonsense out of us. How can we deprogram ourselves? That's my question. We can put up barriers, right? Like I said earlier. But how do we remove the programming? How do we remove it? How do we get it out? You remember on the Matrix when they were inside that car and they were going from Mr. Anderson's apartment and they put that vacuum thing on Neo's stomach and it sucked out that insect robot out of his stomach, that bug, and Trinity threw it out into the street. How do we do that? And be responsible for your own man. Yeah, I agree. And we have to be able to do something that rivals racism. We got to stop trying to we got to do something that rivals. Parallel and rival systems. You guys agree with me or you disagree? And I think that we can. But it's just it's just understanding. So technically we went from chattel slavery to indentured servitude. Maybe we should look at it that way to make the change. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I totally agree with that. That's facts, Constance. Absolutely. So it's about rich versus poor. If you're still in that white versus black thing, then you fell for the misdirection because they treat poor white people just like they treat niggas. I don't agree with that all the way. There's a little excerpt of a Nelly Fuller Jr. video that you should watch. That that whole all of that is like constructed. Because the thing is if we talk about rich versus poor, we're still talking about a class. We're talking about a class system, right? And the whole reason why racism was set up was as an enforcement for a top-down financial class system. And the thing is when it comes to dealing with rich versus poor, you got to ask yourself, what are rich white people doing versus what are perceived rich black people doing? Why isn't Byron Allen creating black media? Why isn't Byron Allen trying to take over Mars? It doesn't happen overnight. Ideological subversion. Retrain for a lack of better words. Next generation. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The next generation. That's facts. That's big facts. So I got a question, guys. Is my feed going in and out? Because I'm looking and like it's really weird on here. It's really weird on here. It keeps going in and then it keeps going out. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what's going on. Can you guys see me? Can you guys hear me? It's like connecting and then disconnecting the YouTube. And it's saying like I don't have good signal strength. Yeah, see, it's doing it again. It's weird, man. So yeah, but what you should do is you should look into what's called Asiento de Negros. Say, well, Oprah does not have a space station, and why don't I have a space station? That's hilarious. Yeah, and see that, and Oprah's another one. Like, what is she actually doing? You know what I mean? To like build up anything, or to make other people have more money. That's what needs to be important. Is that reinvestment? No, you clear here. Okay, all right, cool. Is it on YouTube? Are you guys seeing a fluctuation in the numbers? I'm wondering if that's just StreamYards doing it. I don't like StreamYards, man. But I swear it's like the only thing that people on YouTube use. Like I used to do like streams with like OBS and it would be like real nice and like I had like all of these effects and different things like that. And I had like 2 people in my live stream. I was like, man, I ain't about to sit here and do all this stuff. You know, I ain't about to sit here and do all that. Ain't nobody coming in. I'm about to set the table all nice for everybody and put up all the decorations. Ain't nobody coming to the damn party, man. Shit. Oh man. Damn, y'all. This was like a 2.5 hour tangent, man. I got off on a 2.5 hour tangent. But that's good though, because I think that this was a good discussion. And I think that like we laid the groundwork for some future content. Because like for some future content, we definitely need to talk about now that we identified that there is an issue, right? social engineering and programming, we need to figure out how to break that apart. We need to figure out how to reprogram. We need to figure out how to unwire. No, but I think the lamp made a move at you. It might have. It might be. It might be. So I think what I'm going to do is I think that I'm going to use the same thumbnail and just write a part 2 over it. And tomorrow I'm going to actually do the Destro content. But I think this was a good conversation, though. Like, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I pay per minute for the damn internet. You know what I'm saying? It's just I don't have, I got things I got to do. If I ain't had nothing to do, I'll sit on here and chop it up all day for real. But I got to go to work. But my question is, though, like, I think that this was a pretty good discussion. If we go down tangents like this and we get, productive conversations out of it, I'm down. You know what I'm saying? Like, I if you're driving somewhere and, you see something that you like on the side of the road, you want to drive off the freeway for a couple minutes and enjoy it. Hey, like I'm cool with that. So what do you guys think? Was this cool? You know what I'm saying? We can do the Destro stuff tomorrow. Let me know. I think what I'm going to try to set up the schedule. So what I'm going to do is, like, right after this, when I turn this one off, I'm going to set up the schedule tomorrow and I'm going to actually try and get this Destro live stream done. I'm going to try to get it done at I'm going to try for 9 o'clock in the morning. Love this guy. I know Jesse has been the homie, following me, subscribing to my content since 2017. You know what I'm saying? Like, I appreciate Jesse for real. And I'm glad you enjoyed it, Shondell, as well. I'm glad you subscribed. Make sure you go and subscribe to my other channels too, because we do that I do that live stream with my boy on that other channel, and I drop videos from time to time on both. I'm trying to get that other channel monetized too, but for right now, I'm just using it for the podcast. But we do that every Wednesday at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know what I'm saying? Tomorrow, I think I'm going to try to bust out that Destro one, and hopefully I get through that pretty quick. You know what I'm saying? And then the links that go into the chat that the bots put in, those are my other social media. So you can just, you know what I'm saying, you can click those. That'll take you to the other channels. That'll take you to Instagram. That'll take you to Facebook, because I multi-stream on D Live and Twitch and Trovo as well. You know what I'm saying? So you'll be able to find me anywhere. And, that we got a room on Clubhouse. You know what I'm saying? We go live on Clubhouse every now and then, or on stereo, do a little audio podcast where we just chilling, chopping it up. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, though, man, I think, you know what I'm saying? We need to start figuring out how to make power moves. We need to start because you can't be honest about how to make a change if you're living in a delusion that the problem doesn't exist. Hope the morning finds you well. You know it will, bro. I appreciate that. I'm going to try to, is that a good time for y'all? What's a good time? Is 9 o'clock in the morning really a good time, or is this a better time? I think I started this at about 2. Let me know what's a better time, and I'll try to aim for that. I think I put a community post up. No, I ain't going to be able to have time to do that, because then I'm going to have to do the schedule before I leave. I'll just schedule it for 9 o'clock, but make sure y'all find the schedule. Make sure y'all hit the bell icon twice on the schedule thing, because I might change it. Hey, what's up, Blondie Lee 303? What's up with you? So I think that's it, man. This was a great conversation, man. I appreciate everybody coming. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice for notification. All right. And we're going to do that live stream tomorrow and hopefully have some fun and talk about some good things. We're going to talk about Destro. Hopefully we don't get on a 2-hour tangent again. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. All right. Peace.